He's got another reason for wanting to be in charge. He knows from his own experience as a junior officer on other ships going through Portland that there's likely to be a very unwelcome surprise hidden in this apparently simple task. And he's right. In a few moments, Fost will tell the operations room there's a hostile submarine contact in an attack position at a time when the two ships are firmly harnessed together. And Fost will be recording every second that Newcastle takes to break away from the tanker and move to meet this new threat.
Right, confirm when the starboard is started but not selected.
Action links.
Rob Davis doesn't know yet what the threat is, but his first move is to call for extra engine power, ready for any emergency that Fost may throw at him. And as it turns out, he's just about in time.
All set to go.
Down to 38. Down to 38. Down to 34.
Down to 34. Cross up high, please.
As soon as the ops room tells him about the submarine, the officer of the watch has to move quickly. First, he must warn the tanker to break away with a series of blasts on the ship's siren.
Time 6 short blasts. 260.
The next step is to start up Newcastle's Lynx helicopter, the only anti-submarine weapon she carries.
Holding.
The submarine wasn't really there at all. It was just a Fost invention to test the crew's reactions by measuring the dead time, the interval between receiving the warning and breaking away from the tanker. But Newcastle's performance was good enough to earn them a pat on the back at the debriefing later.
What's contract 10? 80, sir.
The emergency breakaway was well controlled and carried out in good seamanship-like manner. The overall dead time was of 10 minutes, which is well inside fleet standards. The team is now knitting together well and overall good.
One up to Newcastle. They anticipated the extra threat and dealt with it quickly. But later that same day, with the ship taking on fuel from another tanker, there's another dirty trick from Fost. A dummy over the side to represent a man overboard. And this time the crew have to spot the problem for themselves.
Man overboard! Mark the clock. Right, man overboard, turn off the watch. Yep.
Away seaboat, away some of the watch. Starboard side. All seamen not on watch, must down to starboard waist. Final forward bearing 180.
Once again, they cope quickly and efficiently, and eventually they score another pat on the back.
They did well. The bridge reactions were good initially. The seamanship teams did well to get rid of the rig in the time scale. The ship handling was good. The man was difficult to see, and in fact the flare we use, the smoke flare we use for exercise purposes, burns out in a much shorter time than the real one. And this highlighted the problem of trying to find the man once the flare had burnt out. And that underlines the difficulty of finding somebody in the sea. It's a big place and a small person.
But But another day brings yet another tanker, and Newcastle's toughest exercise, or serial as the Navy calls it, so far. It's a very different kind of problem from the fairly routine tests she's met up to now. Weymouth Bay is standing in for the Straits of Hormuz, and the tanker is a British ship under terrorist attack from high-speed motorboats. All she can do is send out a distress call.
I know you'll all be delighted to know that in my paw I have here that the motor vessel Regal Bastille has been hit by rocket-propelled grenades from orange bog hammers, and in 2 hours, no, less than 2 hours, we've got to go to her assistance, which is a disaster exercise at sea. Thanks, Philip. Thank you.
The tone's light-hearted enough, but Newcastle's crew are in for a shock. They're full of confidence on their showing so far. What they don't yet realise is that this exercise is going to be a much tougher and more disappointing proposition altogether. The first problem is getting enough people onto the tanker to deal with all the different problems they might meet. Fighting fires, repairing damage, treating casualties, and getting the ship moving to a safe port. But FOST have loaded the dice against them. Because the tanker's flight deck is supposed to be damaged, the helicopter can't land, so every man has to be winched down onto the deck, and only 2 people can be ferried on each trip. In the meantime, there's very little Newcastle can do, and she has problems of her own. Rob Davis tries to manoeuvre as close as he can to the tanker to turn his ship's hoses onto the fires left by the enemy attack. But he can't risk getting too close without a black mark for ignoring the danger that, in a real emergency, the tanker might explode, and the blast and the fire might take Newcastle with it. First aboard the tanker are the men who lead Newcastle's team. Mike Beckett is the MEO, the Marine Engineering Officer, with years of experience behind him. He's been through Portland before, but that experience doesn't work to his advantage today. With him is Nick Hawkyard, the XO, or First Lieutenant.
You're okay, yes? Yes, just... Yeah, right. Hold your arm up there, right? Which way to the bridge?
They're supposed to assess the damage, and they have to work out the right order of priorities. Then they have to wait for the rest of their team to arrive. And in the meantime, FOST will make sure they're kept under maximum pressure by the people they're trying to help, the crew of the stricken tanker.
Well, pleased to see you. We've taken your time, haven't you? Christ.
Well, good afternoon, Master. Nick Hawkyard.
The only other route between Newcastle and the tanker is by sea, but the men and the stores which are needed so urgently have a long, slow climb to reach the boat, and an even longer one to reach the tanker.
You think the main don't go, is it?
Not going. Flooding down there as well.
But there's casualties down there?
Yeah, there was some casualties. Have you got a generator up for it? Yeah,
We got a fire.
Yeah, signed on for this.
No, none of us did we?
I'll take the rough with the smooth old son, all right?
Right, we'll try and get your power going, all right? And then we'll try and put your fires out and save your people. All right? All right? Yeah, okay then.
Mike Beckett decides it's better to do something than simply wait. He goes to repair the diesel generator, to raise the water pressure for fighting the fires. On his way back, he stops to treat a casualty. 2 things FOST will criticize him for later.
Have you look in so your mum won't recognise you. All right? All right? Yeah.
I think overconfidence by the MEO, because he'd been before, actually hindered their actual doing the right things. The MEO goes over to assess the likelihood of the ship exploding. Yeah. He should look at the cargo. Yes. He should ask for the books. Now, he didn't do that. He went straight away to start a generator.
That's what I want to make. Right. Straight into the nuts and bolts, sir. And I think this is where his excellent pre-serial work
he knew he was going to have to start a generator.
Yes.
So he decided to do that.
MEO
get 10 brownie points very quickly.
I don't think he assesses the whole ship situation in the first instance.
That's the word.
He got